Hello, it is Nick. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome in. Hopefully you like what you find here, and if you do at any point, make sure to subscribe for new videos every Monday and Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time. So, with that said, today, and if at any point you like anything you hear, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Oh, sorry, the sun's coming in and it just stretched out the walls, so that was what that sound was. So today we're actually going to talk about the Hilaria, whatever her name is, Baldwin, or however you pronounce it at this point, and that's important. But we're going to talk about the situation with her. If you don't know who she is, she's married to Alec Baldwin, the actor, and her scandal that's going on right now is her being exposed, if you will, about basically faking her heritage and the way she presents herself as a Spanish person or a Spaniard, when in reality she is from Boston, from what we see. So I wanted to get into a few of the thoughts that I came up with or came to my mind as I was kind of analyzing the situation. And it's kind of funny because one of you commented in my last video, I want to know your thoughts on this, and it was funny because I was actually already planning on doing this as one of my next videos, and it's going to be this video. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, make sure to keep watching and let me know any thoughts you have in the comments as you hear my thoughts. So the first thing I want to talk about with this subject is, it's really funny when something like this comes out about someone, especially a high-profile person or an actor or a politician, public figure of some sort, athlete, whatever. People will start going into their past and start digging up things and start seeing what they've done in the past in this new context, in this new scandal. This happens a lot when I see people in scandals for past tweets or past social media posts or past comments in interviews that they've done over the years in the new context, or in the 2021 era of the way society is going, the way the culture is reacting to things currently, and they start using that context to revisit the past and analyze them in a different light. So that's what's funny about this story is, this is I don't want to call it lighthearted because I know some people take this sort of thing seriously, and I think it is serious when someone's pretending to be someone that they're not. But seeing some of the clips in this new context is very interesting, and a lot of people are kind of finding more and more stuff, and it keeps adding more layers to this story and giving this story new life and just making it even more interesting. So I think that's very interesting. I wanted to point out here. Next thought I had was, I feel this is the result of us placing higher importance on traits that are really out of our control than other things that are in our control. So for me, an example of this is, even if you choose that you want who you want to have kids with because of looks, because of race, because of physical attributes, even maybe even mental attributes, there aren't any guarantees that that child or your children are going to have those things that you choose, at least at this point in society where science is. We don't really have that capability of picking and choosing traits. I have a feeling that's not too far in the future, but that could be a whole nother ethical, moral conversation. But that's why we shouldn't place importance on things like looks and on heritage and on things that are really out of our control at the end of the day with regards to how we turn out. Like, I didn't get to choose my parents. You didn't get to choose your parents. I can choose the partner I want to be with and have children with, if we can even have children, or if we even want to have biological children, but that doesn't guarantee any outcome at this point in time. So that is the problem I have with placing higher importance on these things, and which is, I think, the result of that is this story with Hilaria Baldwin basically faking her appearance as a Spanish person, having the accent, saying her family is Spanish, and saying she's an immigrant, whatever it is. And so that's the problem I see here. And that leads me to my next point, which is people always conflating, and I actually made this mistake, I'm not gonna lie, I made this mistake a while ago, but where I was conflating Spanish with Latin, and obviously now I know they're not the same because Spain is in Europe, Western Europe, and Latin is Latin American, or in Latin America or Central America, whatever it may be, South American or Caribbean, I guess, could be considered Latin, right? So I understand they are two different two different cultures, and so I think that's something I've seen people with this story confusing the two, and I think it's an easy thing to confuse. I think it's an easy thing to get confused if you're not aware of geography. You might think Spanish, Spaniards, South America or Central America or Mexico, because maybe you know a little bit of history where Spaniards came over to South America or conquered, or the conquistadors, whatever, and not realize that they come from like a European area. So I think that's probably where it comes from. And I don't think actually in this case we should be surprised anymore. A lot of the stories that are coming out actually regarding people in the entertainment industry being exposed as who they really are, because it's for entertainment purposes, and the most entertaining things on the planet are the ones that seem so outlandish and so lavish and outside of the norm. And so when you have people who are associated with actors or are actors being exposed in their real life as fakes, we can't really be surprised because they make a living off of acting. And I would have to think some of that would rub off in their real life. I know that what I do for a living, I bring it with me everywhere I go, because first of all, what I do, I encounter every single day, and all of us do, but in some way. And so I'm able to kind of analyze things that I would do at work on my off work time, because one, I'm interested in it, but also it just kind of, you start noticing things that you can't just not notice. You can't just some things you can't flip a switch on. Like I can flip switch in most cases, like turn off work mode and put on fun mode, or put on a relax mode or whatever. But I can still have that same work information kind of detector, but it just takes a different context, and it's not as high risk or at as high of a stake when I'm off work hours, and it's not as part of a project, if that makes sense. So now we get into the conversation around if this is racist. And first of all, we're not talking about her appropriating a race, because from my understanding, it's not racist, because Spaniard, or saying you're a Spaniard or Spanish, would be a nationality, if I'm not mistaken. To me, like Latin, or saying you're a Latino or Latina or whatever the correct term is at this point, means you associate with being, or you're from like Latin America or like South America, whatever Latin America includes. So you're talking about a culture. And as far as I'm concerned, I think the best thing we can do is say the only race is the human race as far as humans go, and then everything else is kind of a nationality. Because like saying you're African American, I mean, Africa is a continent, but you can say that's a whole bunch of nationalities on one continent. America is not a continent. It's in continental names, but America, the country, there's only one country with the name America in it. So that's a nationality with a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of human race people, if that makes sense. And assuming, okay, yes, there's different races, black, white, Asian, or black, white, whatever. All those races exist in America, which is a nationality. Anyways, that was a bad explanation probably, but as I'm reading my thoughts, I'm thinking of more things. But then we get on to the conversation about cultural appropriation, which to me, I don't want to say it's a stupid thing to bring up, but I think cultural appropriation is a more fitting term for this, not necessarily racist, because in my opinion, if you are wearing something or imitating something because you like it and you're trying to pay tribute to it or an homage to it, I don't see the problem with that, as long as the context is okay and you're not like making fun of them. I see a problem, and this can be easily corrected without this whole outrage cancel mob going after someone. If you wear a look that you were trying to say that you created yourself when you didn't, because you maybe didn't know the history behind it, or you stumbled across something or tried something new and you just were not aware that it was something that's already been created, I think that's something that's like a mistake, and you're like, okay, now I'm uneducated by it. And I think only in modern society would someone be called out for that and basically be forced to correct it or apologize, because when we put ourselves out online, for sure, and it's a lot easier, and there's a lot more people looking at you and have access to tell you exactly what they think, whereas if you're walking on the street in real life, you only come across a handful of people, depending on where you are, of course. And I think in real life, most people don't comment like they do online. So that's my 2 cents on kind of the cultural appropriation thing. And in my opinion, I thought the whole point of America, which is where Hilaria Baldwin, this whole controversy is blowing up as was kind of in the American culture, is I thought the whole point of America was that it didn't matter where you come from. Because how can we be this racist, xenophobic place when this is an example of people pretending to be a certain race outside the human race and an immigrant from a certain place in order to get ahead? Because from what I understand, she did all these things because maybe she liked just being that, or she liked the way the accent sounded or the culture, whatever it may be. There's a reason she grasped this and kind of ran with it, even if maybe she didn't mean for that to be initially, is because it appears that people treated her differently because she had this accent, or she appeared to be Spanish, or had that heritage, or was an immigrant. And that seemed attractive to the field she wanted to be in, and it was like a career opportunity or a leg up in the industry. And from what I'm hearing from other people covering the story, that is more than likely true in the entertainment industry. So that's the problem, I think. So in my opinion, the sooner we stop placing higher importance on things like skin color and race outside the human race and immigration status and things of similar nature, the sooner we will stop hearing stories like this of people, for lack of a better term, appropriating cultures to get a leg up that's not really their culture. I think people would be a lot less outraged if she said, I'm not from Spanish descent, I'm not from Spain, whatever, but I really like their culture. I love the way their accent sounds. I love the way they dress. I love the way they look. I love their lifestyle, and I want to emulate all that because I love it. I don't think people would have as much of a problem than they do right now, which is the fact that she tried to say she is from that heritage, from there, grew up this way, and this is why she is the way she is when she wasn't. I think that's the biggest problem people have, is the fakery and the pretending to be something you're not kind of thing, without knowing that you're like changing yourself on purpose. And then one last note on the whole appropriation thing is, the reason I push back on cultural appropriation in general is because everything, I think, is an evolution of something, if that makes sense. Sure, maybe one thing really grabbed popularity or was created in one community, but then because it was so good and such high quality, why wouldn't you want it to expand to other people to grow the popularity of this, or to get more people associated or included in this thing that's really good? That's the problem I see with the whole cultural appropriation being bad, when it's not someone doing it to be with malice intent or in a way that's kind of making fun of someone or kind of trying to degrade someone. If you're paying homage and paying tribute to those people, saying, hey, I like this thing that you guys created and I want to wear it too, or whatever, I don't think that should be a problem. And like I said before, in this case with Hilaria Baldwin, she was lying, or at least lying by omission, or kind of going along with the lie that people were kind of putting onto her about her heritage, which I think is the wrong part about this. One last thought I had, which was about just immigrants in general, is why is it that we are bashing Hilaria, who was actually, I didn't even say this at the beginning, apparently her real name is Hillary, so anyways. Speaking of that, is when people from Asian countries come to America, a very common thing that I've noticed is, and I think it's pretty much a fact at this point, is a lot of them who have their birth name from Asian countries, which for English-speaking people, reading the name as it's spelled on paper might be a little more difficult, and maybe in the past they've had a little more difficult time assimilating into the culture with those names that maybe are harder to pronounce, harder to spell. They adapted by adopting names that are more English, American, whatever you want to call it, to be called by in America to assimilate a little better. Why is that not such a big problem, but something like Hilaria doing it is a problem? So that's the part I'm a little confused by why it's certain groups are being held accountable and being condemned for it and others are not. So that's kind of an open-ended question. If you want to share it with me in the comments, I would love to hear that. So those are kind of my general thoughts. I know when I start talking, and even though I have stuff written down that I want to talk about, sometimes it triggers all these other thoughts of mine, and sometimes it doesn't come out the perfect, the most eloquent way. But that's why I do these videos, because I love chatting with you guys in the comments to kind of fill me in or have a little bit more clarification with you and have a little bit more of a back and forth in the comments for some of the things I couldn't cover here, because if I tried to cover every little nuance in a video, it'd be like, I don't know how long, and I'd probably have to revise it like 10 million times, and by that time it'd be irrelevant. So that's why these videos are the way they are. If you like what you saw here, make sure to give this video a thumbs up or the equivalent on whatever platform you're watching on. If you are not subscribed and you would like new videos in this realm of culture, social media, sometimes political, make sure to leave or subscribe and come back every Monday and Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time for new videos every single week. And with that said, thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I can't wait to chat with you all in the comment section down below. With that said, I hope you have a great day, great rest of your day, whatever time you're watching this at, and I will talk to you in the next video on Monday. Bye-bye.